Good afternoon. Mr. Reed, are you interested in learning more about the Church of Jesus Christ?
Yeah. Scary. You figured it out yet?
Welcome back, movie fans. Today, we've got a special one to talk about. And I'm putting an emphasis on the word talk because there is a lot of that going on in the world of Heretic. As we talk about this gripping tale where charm meets existential dread in a battle that will make you question everything you thought you knew about faith and reason, we'll be discussing, is this film good? Is it great? Is it worth checking out? In today's spoiler-free review of Heretic. But first, let's get the conversation going in the comments below. Let me know if this is a film you all were excited to check out, but more importantly, once you've seen it, let's talk about it. What worked, what didn't work from the story, the performances, the direction, the cinematography, the score, the ending. Let's talk about it all in the comments below. Two young missionaries become ensnared in a deadly game of cat and mouse when they knock on the door of the diabolical Mr. Reed. Trapped in his house, they must turn to their fate if they want to make it out alive. Let's just jump right into my thoughts about this excellent film, because I think this film is just such an innovative movie by the directors Scott Beck and Bryan Wood, as they managed to weave a provocative tapestry exploring the dark undercurrents of belief through a shocking philosophical duel. Now, you might be familiar with these directors. They were the co-writers of the very first A Quiet Place, which is an excellent movie in my opinion. But then they also did a film a couple years ago, I think at this point. It starred Adam Driver, and it was about dinosaurs, and it was horrible, by the name of 65. So I want to say I love A Quiet Place. I did not like 65. Heretic is more in the lines of A Quiet Place in regards to just a innovative movie that plays into like your sensory. Like, I will say shout out to Alamo. I got to see this early, and they created this environment where there was like blueberry scent going throughout the Alamo Draft House Theater, and they also gave us some blueberry pie, which I'm normally not a fan of blueberry, but like I was like, this was pretty good while watching this pretty damn good movie. But getting back into my thoughts, this film definitely has some of the best and most meticulous writing, some of the best editing I've seen all year, and the pacing of this movie was outstanding. And the reason I use the word outstanding is because 99% of this movie is very dialogue heavy, and I was on the edge of my seat biting to the bits at every single word. To me, this is their best work to date in my eyes as far as the direction goes, and also the writing, because I could not think of another movie that had me hanging on every single spoken word by these characters. Every single scene has so much importance, so much detail, and connected to the overall story. What an excellent job by these two directors. Again, this film is just so thought-provoking with its script, and it is an immersive direction. These two delivered a film that's not just entertaining, but also intellectually stimulating. And it has a brilliant blend of horror and philosophy. And I want to just say this now because I think for some people, the framing of this movie from the advertising might seem like a film that's attacking religion, because it's not doing that at all. I want to say that now. Instead, it is a film that's taken its time in challenging the audience when it comes to the idea of faith and the idea of choices. And I love that about the film, because again, it's not attacking the religion. It's not saying one religion is better than the other and one's worse than the other. It's all about choices and faith, and I love that about the film. And also, I just love how the film is almost staged as a play, because we're not going to a lot of places like this house, and I'll talk about the production here in a second. It feels like a play in the best way possible. Also, one of the most unique and underrated cinematographers, Chung Chung-hoon's work here is just insane, because he manages to make you feel like you're a fly on the wall, observing these fantastic exchanges about beliefs, and there are just truly some unbelievable shots in this film that just had me in awe. But also, speaking to the production of it all, I love the house in this movie. I feel like I was watching Saw, like it was like a jigsaw trap. How integral, how detailed, how meticulous, how important the house is. It's a character within itself. I love the sound design in this film was immaculate, and the score was incredible. Like, all the stuff behind the camera was excellent in this movie. But now talking about in front of the camera, because at the end of the day, you need some world-class performances to make this film operate, and the performances here are mesmerizing. Who knew that Hugh Grant has this insane ability to tap into his devilish charm that collides brilliantly with the narrative that challenges its audiences? There was a Q&A after the movie where Perry Nemiroff, as you all can see on the screen now, was interviewing Hugh Grant, and he talked about how for most of his career, if you guys know Hugh Grant like I do, and I've seen most of his movies, he definitely has played more into the charming type of rom-coms, and he's great in those, and he's played other roles, but mostly we know him for his delightful side. And in the interview, he talked about how he was able to kind of dig a little bit deeper into the darker side, and he definitely leans into the darkness within himself in this film. And I just loved how sinister and how dangerous he was in this movie, as Mr. Reed is just such a well-written character with such great performance to back it up. He is coming at these different ideologies of religion and tests the audience as well as the characters, Sister Barnes and Sister Paxson, and truly push them through hell. This was easily, again, I haven't seen all of his performances, but I've seen my fair share of the great Hugh Grant performances, and to me, this might be my favorite performance of his great career, and honestly, it's probably one of my favorite performances of the entire year in general. And then we have more great performances by Sophie Thatcher. She's an emerging star in my eyes who continues to seize the genre and spotlight her abilities to being just a great actress, as she plays Sister Barnes, who's more of the self-aware and more challenging of the two sisters. And she is just so good in this movie, and her character is not just merely an observer of the philosophical duel at hand. Instead, she is a vital participant who challenges and confronts the ideologies presented to her. But the scene stealer of this film, and the character that actually had me laughing at times in this movie, like as soon as this movie starts, I was in love with these characters, but a character that had me laughing, but also terrified to what's going to happen to them, because I was like so like enamored by her and really cared for the character, and she was just so good in the role. I'm talking about Chloe East, who is just has this magnetism that delivers such great lines, has some unexpected levity, but also as the film moves along, you see her character gain a level of strength and confidence that made for such a great character arc. And again, she is truly a scene stealer and has some of the best moments in the entire film. The interplay amongst these three actors creates such a rich tapestry of conflict and resolution, which sets the stage for the film's exploration of faith and existential questions. This trio is probably one of my favorite trios in cinema this year. Like, I think of what we had with the trio in like a Dune 2, whether it was Timothée Chalamet or Zendaya or Austin Butler, or even going back to Zendaya Challengers with that trio, that love triangle. And there's a couple other examples, but those are two that come to mind. But the trio that we have here is just excellent together. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the film does have discussions about religion, but it's also about beliefs and what people believe in this film. But more importantly, it's also about the choices as well. And its themes are brilliantly constructed to fit within this test that Reed puts these sisters through. And that's where I'll stop, because I don't want to say anything more, because the less you know about the film, the better. Now, this film is being framed as a horror movie. And if you've seen a lot of the A24 films that I have seen, you know that sometimes the marketing department doesn't really tap into what the film's actually about. And that could be a good thing because it can surprise you, but also that can be damaging, like you thought it was one thing and it's something else. So I want to talk about like the horror elements in this film and the way that I enjoyed it. And it's more of a tension-filled thriller more so than it is like a traditional horror film in that sense. And what I mean by that is there's no sense of jump scares or scary imagery, but instead it's more interested in the tension sparked by the idea of this man who's a non-believer, and the fact that he would go through these ridiculous lengths to break these women's spirits and their beliefs. And that's the horrific elements of this movie, putting yourself in that position as these characters find themselves in. And again, I can't stress enough, the tension building in this movie is incredible. It's a great fusion of thrills filled with the uneasy feeling of dread. I can go on and on and on about the cleverness of this film, the incredible filmmaking, the great performances, the themes, the deeper meanings, and I might make another video about this film because I'm really high on it. But I will say, There is something about this movie that kept it from being like an absolute home run and being like the best movie of the year for me. So let's switch gears and talk about my criticisms with Heretic. Now, there's some nitpicks about some of the pacing in the second half, but I can put that aside because, again, I was just so hooked and so compelled by the narrative. But my biggest issue with this movie, and I wouldn't say it doesn't completely miss the mark on the ending, which I won't spoil here, but I would say it didn't entirely stick the landing on how it wraps up. Now, without giving the details away about the ending, which I may make another video about this ending because it is very fascinating to me, but I will say for a film that was just so steeped into high character stakes, to these super intellectual conversations about religion, about beliefs, using these great metaphors to describe religion, and also just like this philosophical duel that we have in this film, and these great long crazy monologues, my issue with the ending boils down to, unfortunately, it comes down to this stereotypical kind of final girl situation, almost becomes this slasher chase sequence cat and mouse horror film, and it just felt like they didn't know how to end the movie on a high note that matched the same tone, the same energy, and the intensity and the effectiveness of the tension like it did in Act 1 and Act 2. Again, I wouldn't say it's a terrible ending, but I just go back to how great Act 1 was, the setup, how things kind of unfold in the second half. Again, the tension is so amazing in this film, but I would say when it comes down to the build-up to like the last 15 minutes of this movie, that's where I was unsatisfied with the ending on that end. But hey, those are my main pros. Those are my criticisms. Before I give you all my final score, my final thoughts, I want to thank you all for making it to this point in the video. If you've enjoyed yourself so far, do me a favor, hit the like button, but also consider hitting that share button, and also consider sticking around and checking out my other content and subscribing to the channel and hitting that bell notification. Overall, even with an ending that left me a bit unsatisfied, this was still an incredible narrative that definitely explored the intersection between faith and reason, probing deep existential questions that completely had me hooked. This is a film that will challenge its viewers to confront their own beliefs while presenting an array of perspectives on morality and reality and constructs that govern our own understanding of beliefs. This thematic richness enables the film to transcend the genre limitations, presenting it as a must-see for anyone with an interest in philosophical discourse, particularly concerning religion and its implications to contemporary society. Heretic is an extraordinary achievement that demonstrates Scott Beck and Bryan Wood's ability to merge gripping storytelling with profound themes. Hugh Grant's captivating performance, alongside the exceptional portrayals of Sophie Thatcher and Chloe East, creates a film that is entertaining as well as intellectually stimulating. In a world where the lines between faith and religion often blur, Heretic emerges as a significant film that resonates on multiple levels, solidifying its place as one of the standout horror films of the year. I'm going to give Heretic a 4.5 out of 5. This is one of those rare things for me because I'm one of those guys that I love a great ending, right? And I'm even someone, I've said on the channel before, where I can forgive like a first half that might stumble in its narrative and the second half isn't that good, but then they stick the landing on what they were trying to tell. Normally when the ending doesn't really hit the mark, I'm just like, it didn't really work for me. But I can't stress enough, Act 1, Act 2 is so excellent, the tension's so good, and again, the ending's not terrible, it's just the 15 minutes of the ending didn't stick the landing entirely. But again, with all that being said, go watch this movie, y'all. Like, this is an excellent movie. Again, I know for some of you all, if you share a similar taste to me, if you've been on the channel for a while, you're going to enjoy this. But if you are someone that looks at the trailer and thinks it's like this jump scare, horrific imagery type of thing, this might not be the movie for you. But instead, if you're into great dialogue, wonderful performances, immaculate direction, great cinematography, just like great set design, and really challenges you, again, with faith and choices, this is a must-see movie, and I highly encourage you all to watch it. And when you do, we got to talk about this film in the comments below. What worked, what didn't work, performances, direction. I am leaning towards making an ending video, so keep an eye out for that potentially. But I want to talk to y'all about the ending. Did it work, did it not work? And then talk about the entire film, and also, what are some of your favorite horror films? Give me a top 5. Top 5 in the comments below. Thank you all for watching today's review. Don't forget, you all are amazing. Stay safe, and I'll catch you all on the next video.